Hey everyone, Brendan Snyder here. How are you? Thank you so much for joining me and welcome to another episode of New Music Finds, where I like to gather everything that I've purchased over the past week. And from this past week, I got quite a bit of stuff, 20 things to run through with you, 19 CDs, one record. I hit up my local record store. If you guys didn't see the scores from the record store video that I did, I'm going to start a new series about that sort of stuff. Keep it separate from the New Music Now, where I think I'll move that to just being the unboxing of things that come in the mail. And all in all, man, it was great. I got some cool things, so I'm going to dive into that with you here in just a bit. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, though, please subscribe. Also, leave a comment, hit like, all those things help. And if you turn on notifications, you're going to stay up to date on cool videos like this, plus the aforementioned scores from the record store, new series and things that I start up like that. You want to be notified of those cool things. So, all right, we're going to kick off with new releases as we always do. First one up that I picked up was the new Whitesnake Purple album. Not really new, I guess, but it was a new release. This is their 2015 album, but as David Coverdale has been doing, this is a revisited, remixed, and remastered edition of it that is now a 3-disc set. I kind of wish it had been in a box as opposed to the digipack, even if it was just a small clamshell style, because he's been doing such amazing box sets on all the others. Had he been able to just add in 2 more things to this, which he easily could have. He could have added the Purple live album and live DVD with that and turned it into a 5-disc box set. I'm kind of not sure why he didn't, except I don't think this album or that one sold particularly well, and turning it into a 5-disc box set that would be too expensive for most people is probably why he went this route. But we'll have to wait and see what he does with the other ones, if he starts going down this road and not doing full box sets for some of the other releases, but just doing some deluxe editions like this. Either way, this is pretty cool. Typical thing that he's done, he's gone back in and enhanced some of the stuff. There's remixes. I have to say, I think the sound on this one is so much better than the 2015. Not just because of the remastering aspect, but the remix of it makes a big difference. I'm really happy with what they've been doing as far as all that is concerned. And then you get a bonus CD in here with live songs that are not from that live album that I talked about. You get some other different alternate mixes. You also get his 1972 audition tape that got him into Deep Purple. Those 5 tracks on here are really cool. They sound great. And you also get some song ideas and things that didn't make the album and stuff. So that's interesting on here. But very cool packaging all the way around for this. Okay, next up is one that actually came out a few weeks back, but it took me a little while to get a hold of it. I had to import it from the UK. Downs Braid Association, that's Jeff Downs from Yes in Asia as part of this group. And this one here, Celestial Songs. Good stuff. It's a little more mellow than the Yes or Asia stuff, but it still has that classic sounding keyboard style from Jeff Downs in here, and it branches out into some different territories and things. And certainly Christopher Braid, the B in the Downs Braid Association, amazing job on vocals, and he does the other instrumentation and stuff on here as well. All right, one that, I am a big fan of Ringo Starr, but I have to say this EP impressed me. I liked the 4 songs that are on here even better than the last 3 EPs that he's done, because this one is now the 4th in a series that he's been doing. I don't know how long he's going to keep doing it for, but we're getting, new music from him every 8 months to 10 months or so, give or take. We're dropping a new one out here, because 4 and 3 years, so pretty cool. Paul McCartney guests on here, and we got Joe Walsh on here, but we got a lot of cool musicians, guys from Toto, they're always on here, Steve Lukather and stuff. So all in all, cool album. Kicking off with some Halloween themed stuff, we've got John Carpenter, the guy known for doing horror movie both writing, directing, and of course scoring. So he's re-recorded stuff as part of this anthology, songs from 1976 to 1988. If you're into synthwave, you'll dig John Carpenter. Check this stuff out. If you're also into synthwave, but you like it a little more proggy, I showed you an album from this artist last week, the Dawn of the Dead soundtrack. Claudio Simonetti and his band Goblin had done this movie here. Let's see if I can pronounce it right. Suspiria. This is a 45th anniversary edition, a prog rock version of the album. So I haven't heard the original soundtrack, but this one here I'm guessing is supposed to be a bit more proggy than that. But it's re-recorded, and I do like that. That's the same reason I like this here. The re-recordings of these has sort of taken it out of just soundtrack music and made it a bit more than it was. So that's pretty cool. And then I also bought this one, which is simply called Music for a Witch. It says Tour Edition on it. And it's a limited edition tour CD, it says. I don't know if there was some other version of this album at one time, but it was the songs that he was out touring, and you get those versions done here. And this, well, despite the album cover, which is from the movie that it originally comes from, which is this Suspiria. You can see there's the real picture of the girl, and there's a drawn version of it there. But good stuff, just interesting sort of jazz fusion prog stylings there. All right, another new release that came out a few weeks back, but I didn't pick it up. And keeping on that idea of synth pop and synth wave and stuff like that, a band currently doing it, Gunship. Don't know much, if anything, about this band other than if you like synth wave and heavy 80s sounding keyboard music, Gunship. There are vocals as part of this here, whereas of course like the John Carpenter stuff, that's instrumental. The debut album, it is so hard to get their older albums. I was so shocked when I went into Sound Exchange, my local record store, and found this along with this one here. So now I finally have two in my collection. I didn't own any. You know, I'm digging it. So certainly if you like I said, 80s synth heavy keyboards, I think you'll dig that. All right, completely flipping things here into some excellent new rock music. You know, you guys have seen some of my recent videos and stuff. I have talked about the resurgence in rock. A lot of you guys have said, oh, you don't talk enough about new rock bands and stuff like that. Well, talking about Gunship, now I'm going to talk about Green Lung. And this, I think, is their debut album. I could be wrong. Black Harvest. Really good stuff. I don't know if this is the best way to describe them, but if Black Sabbath was fronted by Candlebox, or if Candlebox was a stoner band, it just has that sort of vocal style that Candlebox has, but with the stoner or desert rock sound. And I gotta say, I have to thank Jamie, who I met over on Pete Pardo's channel when I did a video there with them, and he kept going on about Green Lung, talked about how much Pete Pardo was into Green Lung, that when I got off that video segment with them, I went and I looked it up, and I was blown away. So I picked this up. A new album is coming out, I think, early November. So put that on your calendar. Keep an eye out for that. I'll let you know when that happens. I'm going to be picking it up. They've made me a fan. And then the shirt, I think it was a shirt, but definitely a hat. Jamie was wearing Spirit Adrift. Another new band. I don't know if this is the debut album or second album, but newest album by them. And both of these bands I would define as a stoner rock or desert rock. But the guitar shredding that happens in both these bands, so it's sort of like, you know, if you had a stoner band that was also a 1980s guitar band. So that's where I'll enjoy my stoner rock, like Kyuss, bands like that, all the offshoots from those groups, Fu Manchu and stuff. But I don't get into it so much so because a lot of times it's just sort of slow, dirgy stuff, and I think it's derivative of Black Sabbath. These two bands are not. So if you kind of feel the same way I do about stoner rock, desert rock, check these out. If you're into guitar music, but you also like the sound of stoner rock, check these out. Anyway, there's my plug for some new music, 4 albums right there, 3 different bands. here's a new thrash band, local New Jersey band. It's going to be hard for any of you guys to pick this up outside of the East Coast New Jersey area, but you can listen to it and stream it and maybe order online. The Donner Party, just great crossover hardcore thrash stylings like Suicidal Tendencies and Municipal Waste and other bands like that. Cutting Class. I've talked about these guys a couple times now. I've got the LP, but they finally released it on CD, so I picked that up. Yeah, I like it. Check them out. So yeah, just lots of new stuff. I've been trying to sort of expand my palette recently. It really just goes with my mood. I'm not always in the mood for something brand new in that regard. There's a lot of times where I'm looking forward to a new release by a major artist that I grew up with, and so my mindset is in that, and I stay with that, and then sometimes I'm able to break away from it, and when I do, I dive deep into current hard rock bands, and that's just kind of where my mind was at this past week on that. All right, so as I mentioned, I did make a trip to Sound Exchange, and I found some killer stuff there. That's why I started the Scores from the Record Store video, to talk about just killer finds that you sometimes make at record stores. This was the last Thunder album that I needed. It's called Shooting at the Sun. I think it was 2003. It's a Japanese edition. I don't think it had anything bonus on here that wasn't on the main album itself, but it was just an album I never could come across. And I grew up with them. I enjoyed their first two records back in the early 90s. You know, they were essentially considered part of the glam metal scene, but they somehow managed to rise above that. They managed to stay huge in the UK area, not so much in the US. Their albums sometimes are hard to come by, but this was the one I didn't have, and great stuff. Then we've got Megadeth, Cryptic Sounds. This is not Cryptic Writings. This is an EP, and it's called No Voices in Your Head. The back of it, it's an EP with 5 tracks on it. And I didn't know what this was when I first pulled it out, and I had to do a little research on it. Found out that you know, they took the songs with no vocals on it, and then Marty Friedman noodles around on it playing lead. So they're essentially instrumental versions with Marty Friedman playing lead on it. And that's cool in and of itself, but on the song She-Wolf, the last song, there's like a 2-minute instrumental flamingo-style guitar piece before it kicks in with the sound, you know, from Megadeth that we know and love. 21 minutes. I read some bad reviews about it online. People were saying it was boring and it's not worth it. I don't know. I totally dug it. I never knew this thing was out there. First of all, I liked the album Cryptic Writings, but this here, it was just great to hear. I'd actually love it if Dave Mustaine would go back in and do that to a sort of greatest hits of Megadeth, take all the vocals off of it, and both he and whether at current day Kiko Loureiro, or bring back each of your guitar players to guest and do stuff, but play lead stuff over it and just have an all instrumental album, I think could be really cool. There might even be enough Megadeth instrumentals to gather up in an album, I'm not sure, but they've certainly got some killer ones. All right, staying on the Japanese import thing, I picked up Priest Live and Rare, a 10-song selection of B-sides, all of them live except one. The song, I think it's Turbo Lover at the end. There's a remixed version of it. But it's got some cool songs. It's got ones that you wouldn't immediately get as a live version. The song Sinner is on here, and White Heat Red Hot is on here. So it does have the hits, but I liked it because it also had some of those sort of deeper cut songs done live. And I went back and I checked the most recent 50 Years compilation. I think only 1 or 2 of these might have repeated on that, if even coming from these versions. But it made it worthwhile to get. And just with the new Judas Priest song coming out, Panic Attack, I've been digging that. I wanted something more, and I own pretty much everything. Of course, I didn't own this, so when I came across this, it was a perfect thing to sort of quell that need until I can get that brand new Judas Priest record, which unfortunately isn't coming out until March. So we got a long time to wait on that. I also found this, a Best of Judas Priest. This one here, a 4-track compilation of their first 2 albums from Gull Records. Nothing out of the ordinary on this or special other than the fact that I've just been trying to have it in my collection because, in my opinion, those first 2 records sound very different than everything that came after it. And so I wanted to have this in there when I want to listen to that styling. But I keep finding this, or had found this, as a reissue where they tacked on an interview. And I didn't like that. So I finally found a version where it was just the songs. This one here I took a chance on, and it turned out to be fantastic. Tesla. It's called Unplugged and Uncensored. And I like it. It's even misspelled the way they spelled it. Uncensored as in like senses. But then maybe that was intentional. I think it's a kind of a bootleg, but it's not. It's on the label Metal Memory, which I think is a Italian label based on this sticker that's there. But I've got some stuff from Metal Memory from other things that I also question whether or not they're bootlegs or not. But this is Tesla recording their show live at the Ritz in New York on June 6th of June 27th of 1990. And at first I thought, oh, maybe this is just exactly the same thing as 5-Man Acoustical Jam, but I flipped that over, and the show they were supposed to record for it was this show, and then they recorded it 3 days later at the Troubadour. And I always wondered, well, why did they not use that show? And this is that show, and it even has them saying it, that they're at the Ritz and stuff like that. So I thought, that's pretty cool. The sound quality is phenomenal. I mean, whether it's recorded for a radio station or it's the real recording from Tesla, it is as good as the 5-Man Acoustical Jam. So I'm so glad that I bought it. It's got good packaging in it. I mean, it's not fantastic, but it certainly doesn't look as horrendous as some bootlegs, It's not photocopied art, all that sort of stuff making me like this. They do a cover of the Dokken song, Breaking the Chain, and then they do George Lynch Blues on here. Haven't listened to it close enough yet to determine if George Lynch was playing with them, if they introduced him at the end of a song or something. But when I clicked on those tracks, I'm just listening to the stuff. But it's pretty cool. They do a 10-minute version of Love Song on here. And track listing's a little different than 5-Man Acoustical Jam. So all in all, making it worthwhile owning. If you ever wondered why they went with a different show, listen to this. There's a few flubs and things like that on here. And when listening to it, sort of said, oh, I could see why they chose to go with a different recording over this one. This was a cool find. The Byron Band, David Byron from Uriah Heep, doing some solo stuff. I've never seen this one on record even, so to find it on CD was awesome. I did manage to get my stickers off the back. If you had watched my scores from the record store, I talked about having to do that, but I did manage to get them off. In fact, the one that was on the inside, I didn't even need to do any peeling on it. I just touched it and the glue on it had dried out. It was so old, it just flaked and fell off. It was pretty cool. That doesn't happen very often. But this turned out to be really good. I didn't know what to expect from this because he never had any success as a solo artist or with the band. I just found out he had a band called Rough Diamond, which I've ordered that CD now off eBay. But this was really good. I liked it. I put it on and I thought, oh, I'll just give it a little bit of a listen and move on to something else. And I ended up listening to the album 2 times all the way through. It was that good. It came out in 1981 originally. And this is a 1993 Repertoire Records reissue of it. I don't know if it was remastered at that time, but there's also 4 bonus tracks, and that in and of itself makes it cool, adding to the 8 original tracks. So now you've got 12. So it makes for a much more full album. Found me some Huey Lewis and the News. Picture this, second album. This one has been really hard to find. I don't know if there just weren't that many made or sold at the time or what it is. It also hasn't gotten the reissue treatment like Sports has or Score. So that's probably one of the reasons. But I've looked it up online and it's always going for a pretty penny, and I never really wanted to spend that kind of money on it. And so I finally found it for $4.99 at my local record store. And for me, that's a score. Not only was it a good deal because it's not $8.99, but I didn't have to pay the $20 or $25 that it goes for online. And at the time, when I did my video and I talked about this, I said, I didn't know if I knew any of the hits that were on here, but in fact I did. The song Working for a Living and Do You Believe in Love, which is actually written by Robert John Mutt Lange. I didn't know that going into this. I mean, I can actually see it on the back now, but I wasn't looking that closely. Totally understandable why it's a big hit. But yeah, so I did know 2 songs off this. I thought he didn't break until the next album, but in fact he did have a couple hits at the time, which of course I'm sure got bigger going above and beyond after this album was out. Last week I showed you the brand new release by the group Pink Fairies, which featured the original guitarist and vocalist along with 2 other guys coming in, having connections and ties to Motorhead and Hawkwind and stuff like that, which the band always did. And I couldn't remember who was one of their guitar players, and actually the guy that I guess took over for the first front man, and I'm spacing on his name, but Larry Wallace. And so I bought this one because I've always dug the cover, just being a Pink Floyd fan. But also this is the one that pops up a lot, so I wanted to check it out, called Kings of Oblivion. I think it's 1973. Larry Wallace, who was the original guitar player for Motorhead, is the lead guy on this album here. So cool connections between the Pink Fairies, Motorhead, and Hawkwind. If you're a fan of any of those bands, definitely worth checking out. They've got a pretty interesting history, and they're back together making a new album, which is great. And this took like a solid month to get to me. I ordered it. I was on a Doors kick a while back with the new release of their live album, Live at the Matrix. Broke out all my solo stuff from those guys, and found out that Ray Manzarek had Night City. I had the first one, but I didn't know they had a second album called Golden Days, Diamond Nights. Came from Germany. Had to order this. Only a couple copies were available, and this was the nicest of them. And I usually order locally here in the US if I can, but Germany was where I had to go to get this. I think I paid about 20 bucks, not too bad for it. Shipping included on that. But it got lost at the post office. So first of all, they wouldn't leave it at my door because they needed a signature, and I work all day. I'm in the office in New York City, not here where I live in New Jersey. And okay, fine. Got one of the things in the mail. It says sign it, and they'll deliver it the next day. So I signed it, and my mailman didn't take it the next day. So I then taped it to the outside of the mailbox. The next day it did get taken. A week and a half go by and it's never delivered. Finally, another one of those things show up. So I'm like, all right, fine, I'll go down to the post office. But I had to wait a week because I got it like on a Monday and I work, so I had to wait till Saturday. And I go down, and of course you stand in line, it's a pain in the ass, all that good stuff. But I finally got my records. So in the end of the day, it was totally worth it. I now only am missing one Ray Manzarek album, but I've never really been fond of the music on it. It's a re-recording of the Carmen Barrera. I don't know if I'm saying that right, pronouncing it, but the opera. He turned it into a musical kind of a thing. But this one here, full-on band that he tried in the late 70s, around 77, I think, on Polygram. So very cool, or phonogram, actually it says, so not polygram. But yeah, either way, there you go. Sorry for the long run on here, man. A 23-24 minute video running through all the great finds that I had, but 20 different things here. Lots of good things to say about them. It was a great week for me. I hope you guys had a great week too. As always, let me know the things that you found. What was your favorite special, exciting find of the past week? That would be awesome. I just always love hearing about those sort of things. So take care, everyone. Have a great day. Hope you make some good scores going forward, and come back next week, next Wednesday, for another great video of New Music Finds. All right, everyone. Have a good one. Bye-bye.